The last few years have been a really critical moment for UK farmers and the farming community. It's a critical moment of change for agriculture when we are embarking upon the process of changing our agricultural subsidy. And a moment of change can be dangerous because it could be a moment that changes agriculture so that we lose our small and family farms and we lose our food sovereignty, our food security. Or it can be a moment where we channel public money, the subsidy that's out there to support a better food and farming system, into creating something that's so much better, where we think about getting farms managing their animals in a way that's high animal welfare, that reduces our ecological footprint overseas, where we start using animal feeds that are homegrown or pasture-based, so that we're not using loads of soya from the Amazon, where we think about recreating mixed farms, looking after the soil, where we think about agroecology, how do we farm without pesticides and herbicides. Throughout the process of the agriculture bill, many organizations have been bringing together those voices from groups ranging from consumer protection groups, youth who want a climate-friendly farming system, environmental organizations who want an eco-friendly farming system, farmers organizations from the NFU to organizations like ourselves that represent small and family farms, organizations that want to see, real culture and identity in our food and farming system. Such a broad range of people coming together saying we don't want low standard imports, we want a better food and farming system. It's a cross-cutting issue that goes across society. Everybody cares about good food because we all eat it every single day, and it's kind of the lifeblood of our society to have a healthy food system. So when those voices come together, we have to make sure politicians listen and they don't go for trade deals that will bring in these low standard imports. We mobilized a huge campaign amongst all the different organizations working on this to talk to politicians that say the agriculture bill is a step in the right direction. It's a step that will mean our farmers are rewarded for farming properly. That's great, but an important part of that is stopping those low standard imports coming in, because one won't work without the other. We can't incentivize a better farming system and then undercut it at the same time. They counteract each other, so we have to work together to make sure that both ideas move in the same direction. When the government decided not to accept the standard that was being widely put forward by civil society to ban the import of products which fell below British standards, they went for a commission called the Trade and Agriculture Commission, and said the Trade and Agriculture Commission would make recommendations to government about what standards we need to be protected. They felt like it would be too confusing to have a blanket ban on low standard imports, so they felt that the Trade and Agriculture Commission could put forward recommendations. We have serious concerns about the Trade and Agriculture Commission because the composition of the commission doesn't adequately reflect the range of interests that have been involved in trying to fight to keep British standards high. The range of interests goes from consumer interests to animal welfare experts to environmentalists to farmers from small and medium scale farms that are interested in protecting livelihoods. And it especially doesn't focus enough on the domestic economy. We feel like these are real failings with the composition of the Trade and Agriculture Commission. And the other failing is the remit of what they're allowed to look at. I attended one of the Trade and Agriculture Commission meetings this past week, and the questions we were given to answer when we went to it were about what export opportunities can we look for small and medium farms. And I tried to explain very clearly that small and medium scale farms, many of them, aren't interested in export opportunities. They're interested in strong domestic opportunities for selling their products. We want to sell locally. We want to sell to people who need good quality, healthy food, and make sure that that food is raised to a high standard and sold at an affordable price. We don't need the export opportunities. We need to open up our own domestic markets, and we need to protect farmers to be able to maintain an adequate livelihood. Those weren't questions that were even on the table. And when I looked at the standards that were being put forward to protect, it was a very limited range of standards. They were looking at what we do to stop hormone-injected beef and quite closely at chickens. And we do need to look closely at chickens and the way that they're raised and how they get washed and all of that, of course. But there's many other things. We need to look deeply at pork and how pork is raised, whether it's injected with ractopamine or whether they're raised in farrowing crates, and stop the imports that flow below British standards on those products, pork products. We need to think about pesticides and all of the fruit and vegetables that we import being covered in pesticides that are banned here in the UK should not be coming in here. Pesticides wasn't even in the discussion. So as civil society, as people who are interested in maintaining our standards and raising standards around the world so that, you know, workers all around the world aren't impacted by these inhumane factory farming systems. They aren't covered in pesticides. They're not subject to working in factory farms, which do people's mental health in. They're not great for anybody working in that system. If we want to raise those standards, then we have to keep an eye on the Trade and Agriculture Commission and put forward some clear red lines for what we want to see protected. We want farmers' livelihoods protected. We want a strong focus on our domestic economy, making sure our food security through our local and regional supply chains is protected and our small and family farms are viable financially. We need to make sure we look at what's happening with our pork products, what's happening with our fruit and veg sector and all the pesticides that, you know, and herbicides and fungicides that can be covering our fruit and veg that's imported, and make sure none of that comes in to undermine our horticulture sector here in the UK. We need to look after our beef farmers who'll be raising high quality pasture fed beef and not have to inject hormones into the beef. We need to look after our chicken farmers. All these things are vitally important, and we can't take our eye off of making sure we have a better food and farming system.